Hello. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about boundaries, and particularly boundaries in a professional setting. So the kind of boundaries that you want to have in place when you're working. And just very simply to look at things around emails, telephone communications and taking breaks. What I've noticed in the last few years particularly is that people seem to be increasingly under pressure at work to have their boundaries, their professional boundaries, pushed in a way that not only maybe doesn't feel comfortable, but is not good for them in terms of getting a good work-life balance. The other thing also is that at the moment, a lot of people are working from home. So when you're working from home, it's even more important to be mindful, to be aware of those boundaries and to know that the boundaries are in place and that you're comfortable with those boundaries. So perhaps just to start with that sort of starting work time, finishing work time, and being clear about that for yourself. Obviously, if you're at home, there can be a blurring of the boundary there because you might get up, you might put your work phone on, perhaps you don't have a separate work phone. What I would certainly recommend thinking seriously about is having a separate phone for work. And if you don't have a separate phone for work, make sure that the end of your working day, whatever time you finish, whether that's 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock, but whatever time it is that you finish, that's the end of your working day, you switch the phone off. You can always have an out of hours messaging service for emails and a voicemail, which is also a good thing to do. But in my personal and professional experience, what happens when you don't do that, especially now everybody has smartphones, is that if you look at the phone, you will notice that there are messages there for you. And even if you don't open that message, you will still have it on your mind. The majority of people will still have it on their mind. So that's a very simple thing that you can do, is to have a phone that you switch off and that you don't switch on again until you're ready to start work, you're at your desk, and that's the beginning of your working day. The thing about emails, and again, a lot of people say to me that when they go on holiday or they take time away from work, that their boss still expects them to be answerable or in communication with them. I mean, my view is that for the vast majority of jobs, unless you're in an on-call job where you're an emergency service or you're a key worker and you have agreed and you're contracted to be on call at certain times and have a pager, a phone that is on 24 hours a day at those points, it's not reasonable to expect that you can be contacted in your holiday time and at weekends and in the evenings. So again, just something to consider, something to contemplate in your own working life at the moment, what those boundaries are, how you feel about them, and whether that's actually what you signed up for. For a lot of people, what they signed up for is not what they end up getting. And with a boss or an organisation that constantly wants more of you, wants a bigger piece of you, it can feel as though the whole of your being is being consumed by this job. And at the end of the day, if you're employed, and even if you're self-employed, it's very important to have those boundaries in place. But more so if you're employed, you are doing a job, a contracted number of hours, and you've signed up for something. So again, I understand in these current times, it's people may feel even more pressure to up the ante, to be performing well, to be seen to be performing well. But if you are exhausted and if you never get time to switch off, then you're not going to be functioning at your best anyway. So emails and phone communication. And the other, again, very simple thing is breaks. I find so often when I'm talking to people about their breaks at work that they don't take them. There is a culture within the workplace, within the organisation, where people will eat at their desk, so they're still working. There isn't a designated rest space or rest room, and even if people have a longer work break, a lunch hour, tea break, coffee break, whatever it is, that people don't take that time. So I would really encourage you to look at your terms and conditions of employment, and if you have a half an hour or an hour break at lunchtime, take it. If you can go out of the building, go for a walk, get some fresh air. If it's a nice day, go and sit and eat your lunch in the park. Go away from your workstation. It takes you probably 10 to 15 minutes if you've been in a stressed state from dealing with things, depending on the pressure of work and the nature of your job, to come into a place of calmness and relaxation, to be able to digest food. So to expect that you can sit at your desk without having a break, eat a lunch, is unhealthy in so many ways. So taking that break, that tea break, if it's 10 minutes, and again, just go for a walk, go to the loo, go get yourself a cup of tea, go and get some water, but take yourself away from your workspace. Maybe have a stretch, go outside, but take a break. That's why it's called a break. It doesn't mean sit at your desk for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours without having a rest, a break, a stretch. Stretch your physical body, stretch your mind, give your attention span somewhere else to go. We're creatures of habit, and it's very easy to get into habits of the culture and to take on the habits of the culture and of the organisation that you work for. So in terms of your own health, well-being, peace of mind, and your mental health especially, just have a little think around those 3 areas in relation to your job and how you live your life on a day-to-day basis. Phones, emails, breaks, and what you feel is reasonable behaviour. So I'll leave you with those thoughts, a few thoughts around work and professional boundaries to contemplate today and to reflect on, and to consider for yourself if there are any parts of that, any areas of that you would like to change in order to achieve and attain a better work-life balance for yourself and also for your family and the people that you love and care about. Thanks for joining me today. As always, it's a pleasure, and please subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed or anything that I've said has resonated with you. And you can check me out on my Facebook page, where I post most days, at Self Development Leicester. Thank you. Have a great weekend and good health.